Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our presentation, A Case of Collaboration. We're coming at you from the library at the United States Military Academy. We are thrilled to be here, and the presentations so far have been outstanding. The crowd is really warm. My name is Mullooly. I'm the events and programming librarian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Gomez. I'm the exhibition librarian.
And I'm Jennifer Chess, the communications and marketing librarian. And here's a roadmap for what we're going to cover today. We only have 20 minutes. We're well aware of that. I'm going to start with an overview of the program, why we decided to do a tiny art show at our library, why we made some of the decisions that we made, some insights to that. And then Lisa is going to talk about the physical and digital exhibit that we made from these tiny canvases. Jen will share some of the insights she gained while marketing this program. And then we're just going to circle back and share some lessons learned. So overarchingly, what we wanted, all three of us, was to let you all know that you can do this. Has anyone tried a tiny art show in their library? Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay, excellent. This program really is appropriate for any type of library, school library, academic library, public library. We are a special library. We're also a service academy library. But really, this program will be successful in your library, and we hope you feel empowered to ask your leadership to try this at your library. So I know you all know what a tiny art show, but it is, I just want to go over the basic part of it. So what we did was we created kits with blank canvases. Our cadets came to pick up the kits at the front desk. They returned original artwork to the front desk. We took those canvases and made a major exhibit on the second floor. We asked for voting for more interaction, and it was so popular that we decided to digitize that exhibit. So one of the first things I wanted to suggest to you, and one of the decisions we made early on intentionally, was to select a theme, not just have a tiny art show and put it out there. And we went with two themes, and you can see the two winners here. We went, one was a general art show, which we thought would be very inclusive, but the other theme was inspired by West Point. And you can see the painting, the canvas at the top is Sunrise at Papalopan, that's near Mikey Stadium at West Point. That won best for inspired by West Point, and the one at the bottom, the koi fish, won best in the general art show. Just a sec. And by selecting a theme, we did this, as I said, intentionally. We went with inspired by West Point because there are many people that are very interested in the West Point experience, the experience of the cadets, the history of West Point. By selecting that theme, we gained the attention of the dean and other academic departments. Graduates were really interested in this, and families of the cadets were very interested in these canvases. So I talked about this in the abstract, overcoming silos and leveraging relationships. I can tell you, I've worked in academic libraries, I've worked in school libraries, I've worked in public libraries. I've seen it all. Sometimes I say I've seen too much, right? But sometimes I feel that you can feel alone in your role in a library. And I know sometimes I'll have an idea for a program or a workflow, and I want to bring it to the library. What I'm suggesting is for you to voice your hopes and dreams and share those hopes and dreams with your colleagues. I am very lucky. When I started this role, I'm new to the role. Jen started the role, and Lisa started. We were all new to our roles, and we didn't necessarily have. This was a program initiative. It fell under my remit, but because I spoke to both of them about it, Lisa immediately said, "I have an idea for that." Jen immediately said, "I have an idea for that." You know, the overall project can become much greater if you talk it up with your colleagues, right? And don't be afraid to go to someone outside your silo, so to speak. We're an academic library, but you know, the children's librarian can talk to the adults librarian, like talk to each other across departments, and you'll get more buy-in, which is my next organizational buy-in. Because we were all so vocal about what we wanted for this program. We talked about it in our huddles. We talked about it in our all hands. We slacked about it, right? All of our hopes and dreams. And so quite organically, our liaisons mentioned it to their academic departments. We didn't ask them to do that. Our amazing teaching librarians, I'm not sure if they're on, they mentioned it in their classes when they were teaching information literacy instruction, right? The front desk staff, we did not ask them to do anything, but they talked it up to the cadets when the cadets were bringing books to be checked out. That's the kind of buy-in that you have to work towards. So it's really all hands, and it really created buzz for the entire project. And then I wanted to talk specifically about why we decided to do this tiny art show in the fall, which was my first major programming initiative. This actually spoke directly to our mission statement. The USMA Library takes this very seriously. Our cadets are scholars. We want them to be part of the scholarly conversation. And creative work like this is scholarship. It really is. And it also spoke to one of our long range plans, which is to capture the story of West Point. And you're seeing the canvases as we go through. The quality of these canvases were outstanding, and they really do capture the cadet experience at West Point. And the plan is for some of these canvases to head over to our special collections and archives and be part of our permanent collection. And then also library collection and services. Anytime we can get those cadets, they're so heavily scheduled into our library to interact with our collection, we'll take it, right? And when this exhibit was up, we were all very mindful to interact with the cadets as they were looking at the art, talking to faculty. That exhibit has led organically to 2 other major initiatives just because of the conversations we had looking at the art. And then finally at West Point, passive is our best pathway. As I said, our cadets have no free time. It's hard to get them all in the same room for 2 hours. It's actually impossible. We've tried. So the best thing for us is to have something that they can come work on when they have free time and then bring back. So think of those passive programs. It's a great way to go. So a little bit about executing the program, and I brought a kit here and I have a supply list that I can push out to anybody if they're interested. I did the work, so you don't have to, right? So what we did is we created these kits. They were at the front desk. There's obviously a 4" by 4 blank canvas, a paint pots, brushes, and very explicit directions about when to return and how to return the canvases. And so again, if you'd like this, I can push out the supply list for that. And then finally, what I wanted to make sure is that there weren't any pain points, especially for front desk staff, because I love our front desk staff. So what we decided to do is create a paperless registration form. And this is LibWizard, which SpringShare is not sponsoring us. This is what I happen to use. You can use a Google form. You can use Office. Anyway, there was a QR code at the front desk. The cadet could just scan that. I only ask for really information that you really need when you're collecting personal information. Only collect what you really need. And I will say at the bottom, I did add a line about how did you hear about the library program? We're always trying to get that information. How did you find out about this program? With that, it's Lisa.
Thank you. So I have the pleasure of being able to speak about creating the physical and digital exhibit. I have to say, the exhibit wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Lori's meticulous planning. The organization, creating the kits, and the perfect directions made my part as easy as it could be. So with that organization, I really thought beforehand about creating a project timeline. So from start to finish, so once we had that launch date for the exhibit, I thought about what exactly did I want my timeline to look like? So including the launch date, cultivating the theme, really thinking about that. Then you can create your budget, order your supplies, think about your pre-install, your planning, the actual installation, which took a lot longer than I ever planned for. All the stages really did. How long you want the exhibit to run for? We ended up using 2 months. End of October through the end of our academic semester, and then de-assembly, and then sort of post-exhibit. So thinking about it from start to finish and how we wanted to engage with it while it was going on. So I thought about all of that. And then thinking about the most perfect place for the exhibit. So probably like a lot of you, the libraries sometimes don't lend themselves obviously to the best exhibit space. So we walked our library, we kind of put some new eyes on spaces and thought about where the best place would be, thinking about lighting, if there's any additional lighting, sunlight, which can sometimes be difficult for materials, it can be damaging. So how do we want to utilize our window space, making sure that it's going to be accessible for all the patrons that would be coming through, so that anybody who's viewing the exhibit can have a really strong experience and they'll be able to see it and really get out of the same thing of the exhibit that everyone will. And let's see, and also thinking about this was something that we had to think about. So the second floor where we had the exhibit, It's a very busy space in our library. Our reference desk is there, our writing center is there. So thinking about how the exhibit might affect the library space and the patrons and some of the other functionality. And then also galvanizing staff. That was not hard. Everyone was so supportive and excited. But thinking about when you're utilizing your staff, what their particular talents are, and then taking their time into consideration. With libraries, we're open from morning to night. So thinking, when is everyone going to be there? Factoring in vacations, school vacations, when our cadets are going to have midterms and things like that. So all those little details actually help when you're projecting that project plan and figuring out when is the best time to do everything. Next slide. Thank you. So then for the display design, so the part that I think is the most fun. So typically, before you can think about designing the exhibit, you want to think about your target audience. So we knew our target audience is our cadets and our West Point community, but thinking about how we want them to experience the exhibit and thinking about this theme, West Point experience. And so that is our broader theme that we were hoping that the cadets who participated in painting a canvas would also be able to give their own story to the broader story. And then that the people who were coming in to view the exhibit could sort of look at each story in the greater framework of what it is like to be a cadet at West Point, what the experience is. So that was the first step. And then thinking about how do we want to hang these pieces? So one of the challenges was we didn't know exactly how many canvases we were going to get back. So we thought of a few different designs. We thought about a museum style, which is a traditional eye level hanging, which is what we ended up going with. But you also could have done a salon style hanging, which has a large grouping of art that expands higher and lower than eye level. We did go with the museum style. We like the sense of order and the clear visual lines. We are West Point. And it really lent itself well to grouping canvases that came back that had similar color or subject themes, but lots of different things you can do with that. Thank you. Next slide. So there I am practicing my yoga too. So the materials that you need, actually, so for my part, the main thing that we use, we were lucky to have these art panels. So that's something that we've used for several different exhibits to hang posters, quilts, all kinds of things. And we actually applied all of the canvases with tons of command strips. They're wonderful. They're fantastic. And also, we did decide to go with frames, something that I've seen other libraries, they've done it with or without frames. It worked well for our design, added a little polish to it. But really, the main materials are those panels, the command strips, and then frames, and then also mat board for your labels. So spatial planning. So what I did is I thought about how many panels I would want to use, and I made sure that no matter how many canvases we got back, we would be able to have an equal amount on each of the panels. So it would be able to sort of spread across. And even if people decided, some cadets, they did return the canvases at our asked time, but then we did have some continue to trickle through. So we made sure that anybody who wanted to participate would get their canvas displayed, no matter when they returned it. And then also creating a template for the labels and how you're hanging it. That was really important. When I first started doing it, I thought I could sort of visually do it, keep that template plan, and then I created the labels as the canvases came in. So that way I wasn't doing all 96 a day before the exhibit was set to launch. Next slide, thank you. And then something to think about is your post-installation plan. So what type of activities are we going to engage with and plan so that we can get the most the value out of it. And so we thought definitely the first thing that we did is to have an opening launch. So we did that, so we did an unveiling of the exhibit, and that would highly recommend. It has a bunch of buzz, and it was exciting. And then thinking about VIPs to invite. So inviting our academic dean to take a look, members of academic departments, some alumni who might be interested. So lots of things. And then also Lori was really great about encouraging just being around the exhibit, because people were so excited and wanted to know more about the art and how it was created and how the cadets were inspired to paint what they did. And then also thinking about assessment. So thinking about how to how to gauge how many viewers we've had, what everyone liked about it, what they might want more of. So constantly thinking about ways to improve upon it for next year, because it will be an annual program. And there it is. So there's 96. And then we have a cadet at the unveiling. So he painted a beautiful dream montage. He was really excited. Lori and I, and then some more viewers over there. And then, so actually, when we were installing the exhibit, we had some parents come through and they were bummed that they weren't going to be able to see the exhibit. So then we thought to ourselves, oh, let's create a virtual exhibit so it doesn't have to be limited to an audience within our direct community. So we use Omeka. Omeka is free, flexible, and open source. Also not sponsored by Omeka, but so this is the platform that we use for our other digital exhibits. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but if not, there's several tiers to it. There's a free version, which is great, and then up until like different premieres. And each level it adds a little bit more access, and you can customize a little bit more. But the free version itself is really great. What I like about it is you don't have to code anything. Really, you could just upload text and images, and it creates a really nice, solid online linear visual exhibit. So here is our landing page, and then here we have our gallery. And what's nice about it is when you click on it, one of our digitization colleagues did a great job photographing these pictures, and you really can look at the details even more so than in person for some of these. So this has been really fun. Luckily, thank goodness, Lori had done such a good job with the registration forms, because we did have to recontact all of the cadets that submitted the canvases, and without all the data that she had pulled through, it probably wouldn't have been possible to tack on the digital exhibit. So super helpful. Thank you.
So there were 3 phases to the marketing. The first was obviously marketing for participation in the actual program, getting the cadets to know about them and pick up the canvases. The second was to market the actual exhibit and get them to vote. And then the third was for the digital exhibit. So I used a number of marketing channels, and I used them across all of the phases, but I did try and make sure that each phase looked unique enough that they were distinct from each other. I created graphics that were displayed on our website and digital signage internally in the library, as well as in the mess hall, which is one of our surprising finds that is a place for our cadets because they are a captive audience when they're sitting there reading. We also obviously did social media, and as Ryan talked about, our core audience was the Gen Zers, so we went with Instagram. We did do some static posts, but we also did reels. And then I also decided to reach out to PAO, and that is our public affairs office. They publish our local newspaper called The Pointer View. They also do all of the social media platforms for West Point, and decided to ask them, hey, can you do some coverage for us? And sure enough, they did. And so it's just a lesson that if you ask for the moon, sometimes you get it. We got a full page spread in the newspaper, and they did put us on multiple social media platforms. But as we talked about, we knew almost right away that the most powerful and most effective way of marketing was going to be word of mouth. Even before the cadets knew about it, the staff was really buzzing about it. Are the kids here yet? Can I have it? What can I do? And we knew, like, we were excited about it. And so we decided to leverage that. And we know based on our data that was in fact a very effective way.
So we're just going to recap with a couple lessons learned, right? And I'm going to just take the first few. You know, we created 200 kits. 200 kits went out. 96 of them came back. And your mileage will vary. They're not all coming back, you guys. And you're just going to have to just accept it. It's the cost of doing business. So don't have heartbreak over that, okay? I would again suggest going with the theme, whether you're a public library, academic library, that is really, first of all, the canvases you get, it'll drive your participation rate up, and the canvases that you get back will relate to each other in a more sensible way, if you know what I'm saying. You know, if you're not sure about what I mean, this is perfect for a book club. This is perfect for any holiday. This is perfect for June 13th. It's Juneteenth. It's anything 4th of July, there's many ways you can adapt this and go with the theme. I think that you will get a better result with the canvases that come back. And then I also wanted to say timing matters. You know, we had Parents Weekend at West Point last fall. Thousands of parents were in that library. We just didn't have this display up yet. And knowing that now, we will be sure that those canvases are up. So if you have something at your library, if you always have something on Veterans Day, kind of reverse engineer, make sure those canvases are up. If they're coming to your library anyway, you'll get a lot more participation.
Don't let perfectionism stop you. I am a type A person, and I was a couple of times going like, oh my gosh, do I really want to put this out? But ultimately the stuff that we did, we got really good feedback on, and make sure that you're collecting good data. Our registration form, unfortunately, we had that, how did you hear about us? It was not a required field, and the default was one of the values. So unfortunately, we had a 60% responded rate with that particular data point, which we know actually, unvalidates it. The other data we got was good though.
So then another thing that we were thinking about is how to expand. And we did have a lot of questions for people. I would like to know more. So adding technology in, and then again, planning early and lending in, even when you think you've left enough time, leave more. Thank you, we're at time.